Welcome to Ciao Living Italian Style. I'm your host, Barbara Zippi, and today we're going to focus on connecting you with Italian traditions, culture, foods, your heritage. And if you're like many in the tri-state area of the Delaware Valley, which is Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and Delaware, many people are of Italian American descent. A majority of them also are from the Abruzzo region. The Abruzzo region in Italy is a southern region of Italy that's not very well visited by the tourists. Most of you have gone to Rome and Florence and Naples and Venice and Capri and Sorrento. And all of these beautiful locations have wonderful treasures to offer everybody. But our focus on this show is going to be about adventures in Abruzzo. Abruzzo is one of the regions on the Adriatic Sea, which, if you think about the size of Italy, Italy is about the size of Florida. So imagine if you have to go from one coast to the other coast of Florida, it's about a 3-hour drive. So when you land in Rome, you're on one coast of Italy. And when you visit the Abruzzo region, you're going to go completely across the country, which is only about a 2.5-hour ride, and you're going to be on the Adriatic Sea. And that is the vacation spot of so many Italians from Italy. Might not be a vacation spot for too many Americans yet, but for Italians in Italy, it certainly is. So we're going to show you some exciting slides. I wanted to talk about a typical supermarket in Loreto Abruzzo, which Loreto Abruzzo is the town in Abruzzo that my family relatives are from. And when I first visited this town in 1976, there was nothing like this supermarket. This supermarket is only a few years old in this little village town, less than 750 people. But you'll see next on the next view in, it's a front full open supermarket. Not the giant superstores we have here. Their big giant superstore that people love to visit is IKEA. It's very popular in Italy. I think even more so here than more so in Italy than in the United States. So going inside the supermarket is really fun. When you go to the bread counter, you see a wonderful loaf of Italian crusted bread, which you could get locally at Kosh's Bakery on Rittner Street in South Philadelphia. When you go, you buy the whole round loaf. But when you go to the supermarket here in Italy, you actually ask for half of it or a quarter of it or a certain poundage of it, and that's what you buy. You don't have to commit yourself to that whole piece of freshly grown oven-baked bread. And the next shot also shows you some very popular vegetable item. It's called lubinis. If your family, if you have grandparents, older relatives in your Italian-American family, this was a popular bean on every table that you ate after it was cleansed with water many times, and you salt it out, and then you serve it on the table to pick on. They're so expensive here in the United States, but very reasonably priced in Italy. So lubinis was exciting to see. My brother in Florida, he loves lubinis. What do we have next here? Oh, this, when I went to the meat counter, I had the pleasure of staying with my cousins. And so we went to buy meat for that night's dinner. And I was fascinated by the many types of prosciutto that you could see back there. It's amazing. We have a couple different brands here in the United States when we go for a quarter pound or a pound of prosciutto, freshly thin sliced. Well, they have many different flavors of it and varieties. And on the bottom shelf to the right, I don't know if you can see next to the guy, his back is there. There's a big round roll of lunch meat. And that's the size of their mortadella there, which is to die for. It really is. On the left-hand side of the screen, you could see the actual leg of the prosciutto from the animal that's cured. So you won't find olive loaf and pepper ham and bologna. You won't find those kind of lunch meats there, but what you do find are delicacies. So that's a lot of fun. And the next one is, what a shock to see Philadelphia cream cheese on the shelves in Italy. And that's what they call it, Philadelphia cheese. So they use this in a variety of pasta dishes, which I had never really learned how to cook with Philadelphia cream cheese in pasta dishes. They also use it for snacks and aperitifs that they're making. But interestingly enough, when we were there celebrating New Year's and they were making appetizers, they were making appetizers originally with butter and salmon. And I introduced them to cream cheese and salmon as their appetizer pickings. And they just loved it over there. They never even thought of that. So Philadelphia, when you see Philadelphia there and they ask you where you're from, the first thing they say is Rocky. Everyone loves Rocky over there. And the next slide that we have for the supermarket, oh my God, the fish. The fish, that's shrimp. And the shrimp comes with the head. Everything gets served, gets bought in its entirety. Yes, you can clean the fish, but many of them clean the fish after they cook it and prepare the sauces, because the outside flavorings are what they also use. So shrimp was very interesting to see on the menu there. Oh, can't forget, last but not least, one of the things is each supermarket there has had for a while liquors and champagnes and beers, but they have a wonderful selection of limoncello, which we're usually limited to 1 or 2 or 3 tops cellos in our different stores. So that's really exciting to see. And this Centerba is an old Italian liqueur that's made out of 100 different spices. I remember my grandmother, when somebody was sick, this is the jug she would pull out to give you a couple teaspoons from. Besides knocking you out, it would also probably kill any cold that you have. So it was really funny to see that, because it brought back memories of my grandmother there in that village. I think that's the end of our supermarket slides. Well, when I was talking about my grandmother in that village, I have to say that Loreto Abruzzo is special to me, because my grandmother, Lucia Nobilio, married my grandfather, Guido Acciavati, who were both from the town of Loreto Abruzzo, but they actually got married here at St. Rita's in 1920. So many of the pictures that you see, or most of the pictures that you'll see, and the adventures in Abruzzo are related to the fact that my grandmother always kept a bridge open between us here in the United States and in her hometown of Italy. This here is the family tree that we started in a book that we published in 2000. It's time for a next edition, because we have many more generations of families to add to this. But we've actually traced our roots with the help of our family back to the 1600s in Italy. And then this is where my grandmother came over here and started having her 8 children. So she's one of 13 in Italy that are still living in the town with family and cousins. So when we get into the next set of slides, when we see the supermarket, we're always running into a relative in the town, which is a lot of fun. So I wanted to share our little directory with you. And one of the other things from the town in Loreto that we really like to see, and actually this cover of the newspaper, La Cerba, is the monthly newspaper in the towns of Abruzzo. And when I say the towns, Loreto Abruzzo is one of the towns in Abruzzo. It's in the province of Pescara. But there's also the province of L'Aquila, which is where we had recently heard in the last 10 years about the bad earthquake was there. That's the capital of the Abruzzo region, L'Aquila. And for any of you in the Philadelphia region, you'll be familiar with that name because there's Cafe L'Aquila in Rittenhouse Square section of Philadelphia. And the foods are very similar to what you can find in the Abruzzo region. Also in that La Cerba and the regions that they cover are the regions of Teramo, which is the hometown of my other grandfather. Teramo is in the Abruzzo region. And the other province is called Chieti, another town. My father's mother, was born in Chieti. So being lucky to have relatives that we still get to know and see and correspond with is fun. But now Americans can see the news of La Cerba online on Facebook, and you'll have to go on there and get to see what the news is in Italy of the region where your family and friends came from. One of the things that I wanted to bring to your attention today is some of the people that we've lost that in the Italian-American community that we're sad to see go. And one of them is a name we all know and love, and that's Jerry Blavat. If you remember him from Memories in Margate or his radio show or his oldies parades, Jerry Blavat lived life to the fullest from South Philadelphia, half Italian and half Jewish. So we really miss Jerry. And you can see a beautiful write-up of Jerry on the ItalianAmericanHerald.com's website by retired bulletin columnist Stu Bajkowski. He did a wonderful tribute to Jerry in this ItalianAmericanHerald.com. So if you go to ItalianAmericanHerald.com and Google Jerry Blavat, you can read his review in there. It's really great. Another great that we lost and sad to see go is Charlie Gracie here on our billboard with the guitar. You know, Charlie was famous for making an international recording of Butterfly. His heart and soul was from South Philadelphia. He also came from Italian immigrants, and he made an international career where people overseas and in London, one of his biggest admirers is Paul McCartney from the Beatles. So Charlie brought South Philadelphia to international fame, and we wish his family the best in moving forward. He will have a tribute at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame coming up. And again, if you want any up-to-date news or the story behind the scenes on Charlie Gracie, Google the ItalianAmericanHerald.com and you could see that there. For some other little longer, a few months back, but not too long ago, we also lost the radio personality of Sid Mark. And Sid Mark was Friday with Frank and Sundays with Sinatra. And whether he was Jewish or not, and he was completely Jewish, the Italians and the Italian Americans love Sid Mark for all that he brought us with Frank Sinatra Jr. and Frank Sinatra Sr. And we certainly miss him, and he can still be heard with his show playing Sinatra music on the radio on different air sites. Another famous Philadelphian that is gone is Fred Simeone from the Simeone Car Museum that is by the Philadelphia International Airport in Southwest Philadelphia. And Fred did a beautiful job. He started a racing car collection brought to him originally by his father. Both were renowned surgeons in the city of Philadelphia. But Fred recently passed away, but his memory will be alive forever, just as these other gentlemen will as well, because of his beautiful museum. If you haven't had a chance to visit the Simeone Museum, definitely do that. Now, to give you some news on some movers and shakers that are still with us today. Recently, Dick Vermeil, inducted into the Hall of Fame for the Football Hall of Fame, was a surprise, not a surprise to see, a very well-deserved accomplishment. But many people don't realize that Dick Vermeil actually is half Italian, has very big Italian roots. Certainly sure that has to do with his love of wines and his vineyard out in California. But we congratulate Dick Vermeil and wish him the best. Again, these stories you can find on ItalianAmericanHerald.com. And Dave Tiberi was inducted into the National Boxing Hall of Fame. So, sports and Italians go way past our fictional character of Rocky. But Rocky, I think, to many of us Philadelphians, and I'm getting to see all around the world, isn't such a mystical figure anymore, fictional figure anymore. He really seems to be a character brought to life and in the persona of Sly Stallone. So no matter where I am in Philadelphia, if someone says to me, "Oh, you're American, where are you from?" and I say Philadelphia to give them the general region, their first word is Rocky. First word is Rocky. So that's always fun to hear. And then last but not least, a great philanthropic costumer named James May out in the Ridley Township area of Philadelphia suburbs. He's famous for creating over 50 years of mummery outfits going down Broad Street. And he is the one who created the Jason Kelsey hat and outfit that Jason wore. And that hat, thanks to a resurgence after the championship, had won this season during the finals, and the James May people went back into production even though he's retired, and they actually raised $20,000 that was all donated to Mummers Against Cancer from the sales of the Jason Kelsey championship hat created by James May. So we want to thank all those busy fingers over at the James May Design Studios, which is probably he and his wife who toiled for hours getting everybody their hats for the championship game this year. We came close. We didn't pull it all the way through, but we have a great team, great spirit, and great hopes for the future. So those are some of our Italian Americans in here and in the United States that we want to give you some news on. But the next feature that we want to show you is another set of slides on adventures in Abruzzo. And if we bring up the next set of slides, this is many Italian Americans love Padre Pio. And this is the new church in the back of the Padre Pio shrine in his hometown in Italy. And this is the outside walkway. Now that whole, or patio area, that whole patio area is actually body for body with people during the upcoming seasons of tourism. Now, I happen to be there in February, and you'll see as we pull in closer, the outside Mass venue. You could make out the little red carpet steps and the cross in the back. That's where Mass is celebrated. And that courtyard is filled with people standing or in wheelchairs or bringing their own chairs to their little shrine town. It's called San Giovanni Rotonda. It was about a 2.5-hour drive south of Pescara to get there. Maybe 2 hours tops, I think. But it was just an incredible experience. These are the outside bell towers that are part of the new addition that are just breathtaking when they chime. And then I think we have another picture, okay, attached to the courtyard of that new church. This is the entrance where Padre Pio would go in to where his rooms were. And this is the actual building. And this actual building, when he was active there, that plaque says 1916. And this whole renovation here in this area was updated in 1980. This section also contains an international radio station, international television station, an unbelievable hospital that was started while Padre Pio was alive, that is still visited from people all over the world as a world-renowned hospital. And the tributes here are beautiful. There's an inside room. Now, here is the actual room of Padre Pio. And, of course, it was plexiglass front, and we couldn't go in it. But in the back was the bed. It looks longer than it is because it wasn't even that long. Just enough for a little desktop, little chair, a bed, and one little window that you saw near that door in the courtyard. The life of Padre Pio has been touched by many, many people here in all around the world. So you can't say just the United States. I've had the privilege of meeting some of the Padre Pio miracles. This is the chapel that you go into, that you can see mounds and mounds and mounds of letters of miracles that Padre Pio has granted and people have written in for. And to your right, we'll have a close-up now, you actually see Padre Pio laid out in that area of the church. And you can kneel that close to those guarded wrought iron settings to see him and to pray. And like I said, I went in the off season. Millions of people pay pilgrimages to these spots in Italy, and especially to Padre Pio's site. And I really felt honored to be that up close and personal to his, to see his remnants, his miracles, all the things that he, his life story, the people and how they interacted with him. So if you're looking Padre Pio's buzzwords, you just say a little prayer to him. He's a saint of miracles for many times in our lives. I do his pray, hope, and don't worry. That's what he's famous for saying. Pray, hope, and don't worry. When you pray to Padre Pio, have hope in Padre Pio and leave your worries to him. So with that, if you ever get a chance to visit 2 shrines here in the United States, close to us in the tri-state area, you have Bartow, Pennsylvania, which is similarly built to look like the San Giovanni Rotonda that I showed you. And the other is the shrine on the way to Cape May in Vineland, New Jersey. A family has an outdoor shrine that's open 24/7 to Padre Pio, where you can stop by and make a little reflection. Doesn't matter what faith you are, everybody's welcome there. So how about if we do the market next? And I want to show you some of the pictures of the market. This is the little town that I stay in, Loreto Abruzzo. It's built in the mountains, as you could see. And actually, this is a panoramic view looking over the balcony of my room in my grandmother's niece's house. I have the privilege of being able to stay there. Now here, when you saw those trucks lining the streets, those are the street merchants that come out once a week. Each of these, in those that little red, big red truck, the little white ones, and the orange on the right-hand side, they're starting to set up their tables for the weekly town fair. Since these villages don't have many stores, the merchants once a week come, and in Loreto Abruzzo they come on Thursday. This is the Nobilio Porchetta truck, my favorite stop. I have to always stop there to buy dinner for my hostess Antonietta and I there, and always ask for some of the crust. You could see on the left-hand side of the truck is the long loin of the pig with the crispy crunch. And so this is John Luca Nobilio's Porchetta truck. And John Luca Nobilio turns out to be a cousin of mine as well. So I hadn't really ever met him until my last couple visits. And you can see in the back to his right, he has the rotisserie going for some farm fresh chickens. He has the porchetta and some really exciting other vegetables. So that's John Luca. We love to see him every Thursday at the square. Now, before you go to the square, or once you get there early in the morning, because they wrap up at 1, this is a typical breakfast in the town of Loreto Abruzzo. You go for your cappuccino and the croissants in the back. I'll show you a close-up in a moment of them. But first, I want you to see that you also get 2 glasses of water and 2 little cookies. That's all included in the one price. And I would tell you that the cappuccinos are about at $1.25 or euros, which we're now to a one-on-one exchange rate. And those pastries, the cornettas, they call them, cornettas with cream, and you could see that close up. That cornetta with cream is only $1.25. So that's all including a tip. So it's $4.75, a little under $6, and that is your breakfast in Italy. Because by 1 o'clock you're having a delicious lunch and then a little siesta. And last but not least is these are macaroni machines. Now, we all know the macaroni machines here are the silver ones, but years ago, this is what our relatives made their macaroni machines from. This is called guitar pasta. And if this is what I have, and I brought in front of me, I brought it back from Italy, and guitar pasta, because it makes the sounds of guitars. This side shows where you make real thin spaghetti. Then you pull it over to this side, and then the strings are further apart, and this gives you like a linguine. So if you are one of the Italians going to one of the going to one of the Italian restaurants in the city of Philadelphia or wherever, and you see guitar pasta, that means they made the pasta on a guitar just like this. So it's certainly not spelled like guitar, but it sounds like guitar. So those are my adventures in Abruzzo, to give you a little bit of insight about what I love about Abruzzo, and it's off the beaten track. If you want any other information, you can Google some of the stories in the Delaware Valley Italian American Herald, and or contact me at Ciao Living Italian Style at gmail.com, and we'll be happy to answer any questions that you have, and hopefully see you in the future with more episodes of Adventures in Abruzzo with Ciao Living Italian Style. Ciao!